Hello, everyone, and welcome to Beyond Bandwidth, Leviton's podcast series where we dive into network technology's hottest topics. I am your host from Leviton Network Solutions, Roy Chamberlian. We have a brand new season for you where we uncover the mystery of the AI data center. These data centers are the lifeblood of artificial intelligence applications, and in this series, we will focus on the design and infrastructure from the physical layer perspective of these unique works of technology. For our first episode, we are joined by today's subject matter expert, Leviton's own Mike Connaughton. All right, well, here we are again, Mike. Welcome to Beyond Bandwidth.
Thanks, Roy. Appreciate it.
It's been a little while, right? Since last season, went through a lot of stuff. And this season particularly, you have a very significant role because your background, your relationships, your job in this industry. Can you tell us a little bit about your role at Leviton?
Sure. I mean, technically, I'm a senior product manager. That's my title. But that's not really what I do. I'm in the product management department, but really from a strategic standpoint, I look at trends, kind of major trends going on in the industry. And most significantly, it's really data centers. That kind of fits the season's topic. And basically what I'm doing is look at trends, talk to people, get out into the world and try and help prepare us, Leviton, so that we have the right products and services and so on to meet demands as they come down. But also I look after technical alliances. So there's alliances we have with other companies, like Cisco and Arista, for example, we have formal alliances with, and that fits under my view as well, which kind of, to a certain extent, is the same thing. So when there's certain topics or certain trends, those are the types of conversations I have with them. And for them, they're looking at the same thing for us. To them, cabling is just one of many things they're looking at. It's not their big worldview. So we provide them insight on what we see happening in the cabling world, and they give us insight into what they see happening in and optics and switching and so on.
Yeah, that's a good explanation. And working with you, I see those influences, yourself and a lot of your colleagues, right? We get downloaded from the information that you guys acquire, right? From the industry and your relationships and the associations you're affiliated with and things like that. So this is AI data centers, right? That's what we're talking about. And obviously, we're Leviton Network Solutions, so the focus is on structured cabling. But we all know that with structured cabling or any trade or any part of a data center or any other kind of build, there's all kinds of other influences, challenges, obstacles. Everything has to work together. Can you explain a little bit what you think we'll learn in the podcast this season?
I guess it'd be what I hope we learn, to be honest. AI space, everybody talks about it. I believe it's written somewhere in a law that if you're in the fiber world, you have to talk about AI. That's right. So we're, from one standpoint, we're just following the law. But I mean, truly the growth in the AI space has been crazy for the past couple of years now, maybe 3. And standards have a hard time when things move as fast as they are now. I can't recall in my past. I mean, there was the internet bubble years in the late 90s, but that didn't compare to this. Just the pace of change that's going on right now. The standards that people tend to rely on have no hope of keeping pace. So really what we're attempting to do in this series is talk to a variety of people that are involved in different aspects of the industry and get their perspectives and what they see happening in essentially what are they trying to do to accommodate the end users that are trying to implement AI in their data centers. At some point, some years, I do believe it'll be years down the road, the standards will kind of settle out. A lot of people talk about best practices. There aren't best practices yet. People don't know what the best practice is yet. There's still kind of 57 different ways to do everything in this. So hopefully we'll hear about enough of those and, listeners can maybe pick out something that's relevant to them and maybe try to apply it.
Yeah. So in order to acquire this information, your relationships, your affiliations, what types of guests can we expect that we're going to be talking to, to kind of get into the depths of like you said, of these challenges, these lessons learned, what we expect to be coming, and things like that.
Yeah, so we'll have a variety of experts again from different perspectives, from the manufacturing world, from distribution world, from consultant community, because everybody, like you say, with any topic, our when I say our, I mean Leviton Network Solutions, our world is structured cabling. So there's some people that are directly involved with that. There's some people might be slightly adjacent. Some people might be a little bit more, but to a certain extent, we're all impacting each other. So from a consultant community, I would say they've kind of got the bird's eye view to a certain extent of what's happening with all these various moving pieces. We got the manufacturing, we got distribution, which for a lot of people that can be an afterthought. My experience tells me the people that think of that as an afterthought tend to get into trouble for a variety of reasons. Because along with all the technical changes today, here and now, the one of the biggest issues is supply chain, getting stuff, having enough stuff and getting it on time and showing up in the right place. There's any number of things that go with that. So we'll be talking to a variety of people that are involved in kind of different aspects of that. Also talking to people that kind of just look at the market in general. Again, not the most people don't interface, people that gather market intelligence. That could be interesting for a lot of people to hear is how does that happen and how does that work and how does that data end up and relating to the day-to-day of somebody's kind of regular job. So hopefully that's interesting for everybody.
Yeah, so kind of building on that, like you mentioned, the artificial intelligence data center is groundbreaking. It's new, it's cutting edge, right? This is really new stuff when you put it in perspective of the standard technology timeline. Do you see any unique patterns or differences as far as, we talk about we're going to have a whole series of guests in this season. Do you see any kind of different interaction than you maybe have seen in the past as far as, just like you said, things are changing, things are different, the standards aren't there. So do people on other sides of the fences that have to come together, do you see different kind of interaction that's unique in this, or is it pretty standard for what other data centers and high technology spaces have been in the past?
I would say the biggest difference is just kind of the number of disciplines that I talk to, and they're asking me questions, I'm asking them questions. We're getting the third and fourth person to get their input into it. Because again, there's so much happening at once. If you go back 5 years and think about the traditional data center, still a growing and active market. If you go back pre-COVID, but people understood their roles and you kind of had an expectation what the other guy was going to do. So there weren't a lot of surprises necessarily. You had a plan and you had to do all the right things, but it was pretty smooth. Now it's not like that at all. I mean, an example, the biggest issue that you hear about in AI data centers is power, having enough power. Because of the amount of heat generated by these latest generation GPUs. Well, that leads to cooling technology changes,
Yeah.
which, again, a few years ago, people had to cool data centers, but from a cabling standpoint, we didn't really worry about that. Now we're starting to say, all right, that impacts us, and vice versa. The extreme case of that would be fluid immersion, for example. And now, all right, our products potentially are sitting in a fluid bath. Well, what does that mean? How long is it supposed to last? What temperature is it going to be at? I mean, that's something we didn't worry about a few years ago, but those are conversations that we are having on an almost daily basis now. But, if you think about kind of everything inside those four walls of a data center, everything is changing so fast. I don't really know what's going to impact the cabling and what's not until I have that conversation, and vice versa. Other people that may not have worried about cabling now have to think about, well, how big is that cable and where is that supposed to go? And, now I have to worry about essentially plumbing running through my rows as well. How does that interact? In one sense, it's the same set of conversations. It's just all of the conversations compressed into a much tighter time frame.
Do you see some of these designs or builds that occur in an existing white space that they have to alter? Does that happen, or are they always building new spaces?
I would say to date, it's mostly new spaces.
Mhm.
Um, but again, AI data centers mean different things to different people. To some people, it might be a rack or a partial rack.
Right,
And
right.
for others, I mean, in the news, you hear about XAI, the big data center in Memphis. It's massive. And then Oracle teaming up with the US government to build one in Texas. They're ginormous data centers, and it can be anything in between. But to date, I'd say overwhelmingly the AI data centers that have been going together are being constructed. It's being done by the biggest of the organizations, the AWSs and the Metas and the X and so on. The rest of the data center community is kind of standing on the sidelines looking and asking questions about, all right, what do we do when it becomes our opportunity that those GPUs start filtering down into the enterprise space? There's a whole series of questions that people have there as well. Again, hopefully as the season goes on, these questions kind of get answered. We'll bring them up and see what people have to say.
Yeah, and if not, there are going to be questions that that people will want to answer, right? If that's how cutting edge these conversations are right now. With that, cutting edge, newer designs, new builds, how do the Leviton product managers that are developing products and staying with the curve or ahead of the curve, how do they stay updated with these new technologies like AI data centers, right? Because there's only so many people or organizations that are actually there or even thinking about it. So how does people like yourself and your team stay updated to make sure that the products are coming out new?
I mean, there's a few different ways, but I'd say, again, from a strategic standpoint, one of the things we do as a product management group is we identify kind of at a high level, what are the trends happening in the industry? As much as we talk about in the fiber world, data centers aren't the only thing that's happening. So there's a variety of things that are going on, but you can't pay attention to all of them. Essentially, as a group, there's a decision made, all right, we're going to pay attention to this number of them, these 10 or 12 or 15, whatever the number happens to be in any given year. And then we assign them to people. So I have data centers, and actually within data centers, there's actually grouping things like edge data centers and AI data centers and so on. So they get assigned to different people. So then we individually go and track as best we can. And tracking it is basically almost what people are going to hear in this podcast. Go find somebody that knows an answer and go ask them some questions and go talk to customers and, what do they see? We package that information and feed it back into the rest of the team. I'm in the fiber product group, but in the data centers, there's coppers that's used.
Yeah.
People that are responsible for copper products, whether it's connectivity or cable or panels or anything else. From the data center perspective, I'm feeding them, this is what's important in the data center market. And then, there's people tracking, for example, extended reach on copper cables, not really a data center issue, but also an important trend. All right, we've got people assigned to that. And I'm hearing back from them, as an example, what are the issues people are faced with in the market, on extended reach category cables. So I'd say it's a combination of that. And then individually, product managers are responsible for a particular product, whether it's an internal resource or an external resource. They're reaching out to people like yourself. The spec engineers are a great resource because you're the guys in the field. You're closer to the customer than we are. So you're probably hearing the issues that are coming up before we do. So combination of customer conversations, trade shows, whether that's a Bixby or an OFC or a data center world, mixed with talking with our own people in the field, whether it's spec engineers or sales reps or strategic account managers, whoever they might be.
That's a great explanation. Really gives me some background. I love asking questions that interest myself, even within my own organization. So I think we have a good understanding. Now we're going to be looking at episodes coming up.
Yeah, so at the Bixby event in Florida, we had a panel discussion arranged, and then it was kind of independent of this podcast, but somebody had the great idea that why don't we record this and make it part of the podcast? So there was some good discussions there, a couple of experts presenting on what they see going on. So that became kind of individual presentations as well as a Q&A session, became kind of a kickoff of the season.
Yeah, that's great. I'm ready to kick it off. I look forward to working with you in this season, and we'll see you in the first episode. Beyond Bandwidth is a podcast series produced by Leviton Network Solutions. For more information on the topics we talked about today, as well as other enterprise or data center network infrastructure content, Or to check out all available episodes of Beyond Bandwidth, visit us on the web at leviton.com/beyondbandwidth, or wherever you normally listen to podcasts. If you enjoyed this episode, we'd appreciate you leaving an honest review in your podcast application. Along with word of mouth, leaving a review will help others find our show. I'm Roy Chamberlain, and this was Beyond Bandwidth. Until next time.